Yeah, no. Get me about 20. Actually, you know what? Double it. 40 cases of mango juice. Uh, get the mango burger ready. We got to start feeding these people. You know what I'm saying? They're getting hungry. Everything. What's going on, card fighters? How was that discussion? The Vanguard Zero discussion, was it great? I bet it was. We're gonna get into is strictly broken TCG, and from a person that's played many TCGs, it's something that it's a love and hate relationship. Either you love to break the meta, or you despise when they break the meta. But let's get into it. I gotta go get these cases. I'll see you in a bit.
Welcome everybody to Cardfight Con Strictly Broken panel. I'm Greg. I'm going to be your host. And then this is Strictly Broken. They're going to introduce themselves one by one. We're going to start with John.
I'm John Tjaden. Been playing this game since it came out. More notably known for my activity on Vanguardians and various weird tops throughout the game's history, but that's about it.
Okay, Mark, you're next.
I'm Mark. Most of you probably know me for how outspoken I am about Altmile. So yeah.
It's fair enough. Nicky.
Hi, I'm Nicky. I started playing in 2014, and I guess I'm mostly known for my tops in California.
And every time you post like Lamau and Vanguard when Get Still is not banned.
True.
Yeah.
In 2 days, yeah.
All right, and last but not least, we got Ben.
Hey, I'm Ben, probably better known as Zistral or Yellowcard Vanguard Online, part of Team Strictly Broken, also known for my judge activity in Europe and various other online activity with like the rest of these guys.
And you'll be sacking through an entire event.
Well, thank you guys for being here. So let's get right into it. First question. Strictly Broken is known for a strong identity and culture. Its players have an established online presence. How would you say this has worked to build up the team as a whole?
I'll let John do this one first because I've got a funny story. I've got a funny story to go on the end.
Please no.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mainly just a whole lot of confidence. I think with all of us, especially, it's just that we know if we do something at an event, most likely we'll at least go X2, or if Nicky's case, he'll go XO. He's better than everyone else. Nicky.
No, John is behind. I feel like a lot of John is really good at theorycrafting, but I feel like when John goes to an event, he's just a big potato.
Hey, what the hell, man? It's called self-sabotage. Get it right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we have as strength as a team is that myself and John, we think about the game a lot, and with the exception of Nicky, I wouldn't say any of us are the best player in the world. Like Nicky's probably the only one in contention for that title, but we're all good enough and better than the average player enough that we can just throw stuff at the wall and it kind of sticks. And when there's enough of us doing that, eventually the amalgamation becomes viable to in the end.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So one of the my funny story about the end of this is actually our presence was so well known that at Worlds earlier this year, I was walking around card shops with Can You Say G, a very well known creator as well. I was hanging out with him. We were doing some shopping, getting lunch and doing stuff. And I walk into one of the card shops, and I walk past Yue, who's the owner of the team, owner of Strictly Broken. And he was with some of the Weiss guys, and I just started chatting to him. And Yue was like, "Oh, hey, man." And then I introduced him to Seiji. And I literally Seiji shakes his hand, and the first thing he says is, "Oh, damn, you're Yue Ping, the most toxic player in NA." I think that's...
That is true. No filter, man. He has no filter.
To me, it's to anyone else that'd be like, "Wow, I'm toxic, really? What the hell?" But to us, we wear that badge with pride, to an extent.
To an extent, yeah.
Fair enough. Anybody else have anything?
Mark?
Can't say I know too much about the team. I'll be honest with you.
He joined. So background here, he joined after Worlds.
Yeah,
So,
Gotcha.
so like a lot of
And
the
then-
team
and
building
then-
ones. Yeah.
And then that happened, so
And
there's
then,
been
yeah.
nothing to be a team with.
Yeah.
So to piggyback off that, this the culture you guys have built, why is it important to you guys?
I think the main thing is when you look at other like pro teams for not just Vanguard but like other card games, like it kind of almost feels like they put the game first in a way. And for us, it's more like we're all like I think the only guys that come close are WCC because they're just a bunch of group of friends that happen to be good at Vanguard. But for us, it's like like I think we all enjoy each other's company way more than we enjoy the game. Like any one of us could like quit Vanguard and like
Still
go
hanging out with each other.
0x and get kicked out of an event, and I
Yeah.
like we wouldn't be. I don't think we'd be dropped out of the team for that. Like we each contribute
No.
enough in terms of personality, and that makes it really bearable for us.
Like I've admittedly been playing a lot less, but I'm at least still willing to help others like deck build or anything like that. So
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important part of like just being a team is just like being very okay with like everyone being really friendly. Like, and even with like our past team like PPG, me and John, we're like all. I feel like some of them like stopped playing Vanguard, but we're still like really good friends. We still talk to them once in a while, and I feel like that's just the most important part is just being friends.
I mean, it sounds like you
I
guys.
can give you advice. Like he sends me like, hey Ben, this set just came out in Japan. Like here are the Japanese prices. What do you think? We talk about Weiss all the time. Same with John.
yeah,
And, like it goes beyond just Vanguard. Like at Worlds, I'm 0-3 with Tachikaze and Nicky's XO, and he's like, hey, I walk past him. He's like, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm 0-3 playing dinosaurs, and he's like, you're a fucking clown.
Yeah. I don't know why you play Tachikaze Worlds.
Because I made a 69k column. That's it. That's the only reason.
Nice.
That's fair. I've done some stupid things at big events myself.
events are fun.
Yeah, no, I get it. So you guys basically, you guys are just a group of friends more so than a team, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that so happened
Yeah.
to come together and become friends. Nick and I
Hey.
have known each other for a while though.
That's a good thing, though, I would say. We'll go to the next question then, bouncing off that. Nicky, you went undefeated in Swiss last year at Worlds. John, Mark, and Ben qualified. How did you guys play test? How did you guys prepare?
I got this one. So I ignore the game until a week before regionals, right?
Okay.
Then I finally pick up some cards and I start playing a little bit. And then I just decide, I'll just wing it at the event. I don't know how I get all my tops, I'm going to be honest.
So you're going with the my paper would be better if I read it the night before approach, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think that's most of us except for Nicky.
Yeah.
Nicky's
Yeah,
the
I
only
like
one.
to
I think
practice.
Nicky's the only one here like practices extensively. I think the
Yeah.
main work that we did was just me yelling at Nicky to play certain cards and him not believing me,
Yeah.
and then him.
John and
finally
we
Yeah, we just-
theorycrafted a lot for DI, especially for Worlds.
Right.
But we actually, as a team, we did not play test at all.
like not as much,
Um,
just because we had a bunch of stuff going on, and like the Vanguard team was pretty much not as prolific as it was post Worlds. That's definitely a thing. Was the pre Worlds strictly broken and post Worlds strictly broken? Like entirely two different entities, really.
Yeah, going into Worlds, like there was very much no discussion going on. Like, I joined the group chat. I said, all right, cool. Here's what I'm gonna do at Worlds. I don't know what you guys are gonna do. And then that
Keep in
was
mind,
kind
it
of
happened like literally a week and a half before Worlds. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did suggest to everyone, like Mark and actually, I don't even know if Mark was part of the group chat.
no,
No,
it wasn't.
I joined
He was
after
on the
the
last
group. Yeah, I
Oh,
literally
okay,
met
so-
Yue at Worlds. He was my first round opponent. That's how I got on the team. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I literally told Ben like, okay, if you want to win, DI is the play, and Ben was just like,
I don't
fuck it, I'm gonna play Tachikaze.
The 69 column's too tempting, man.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I had the option to playing DI. Like, I could, if I wanted to, I could have played DI at the event. And
Yeah.
based on what limited discussions we had, like I know that you won with DI and you were John with Theorycrafting DI, and I was like, there's no need for me to
To be
win.
fair, we were the outside of maybe some one tricks that got to the event. We were the only ones I think that were actually actively like pushing DI to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like I gleaned some information from one of the one tricks that went to Worlds, Andrew Hesford, which is the whole number of terror thing that Nicky slapped a dude on stream in 3 minutes with. So
Yeah.
love you, Derek.
Well, I mean, it's preparation, I guess, is different for everybody. So if that's what works for you, that's what works for you, you know?
I mean, it's hard with how this game works, right? Because it's
Yeah.
monthly releases. Most likely, especially now, they're meta changing, so it's really just makes all your old playtesting pretty much useless. So
Yeah, right now
Plus, there's so much
sets are
variance
really
going on as well. You need to play like
fast.
100 games to like really glean any useful information.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
like over the last month and a half, like, I've been doing a bit of testing with Nicky, with John, with some of the other guys. Like, we've been more active post Worlds than pre Worlds, which is weird and
Good.
backwards in a way, especially with no events going on, which is dumb. But like,
Yeah.
we played a lot of Zazen. Like,
we did a lot of that. We've been playing like more of the meta going like in the last few days as well. Me and Nicky, and it's like it's useful enough, but at the same time, it's like we're playing these games and we know at the same time that it doesn't really mean much because this is either
too
exactly
useless
either
info.
X is always going to happen or X never happens and there's no meaningful impact.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
As a team, we didn't really test together until after Worlds, but I want to say before Worlds, in my preparation for Worlds, I play tested like
Plays
every
a lot
other
with your
day.
team, right?
Yeah, with my group of friends at their place, and there was a lot of just like I even play tested a lot of Ezel, like playing Ezel myself, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to play DI or not. Actually, funny story. Me and John. I don't know if you want to say this about the
Which one?
the
The Agnos
fake
thing?
counter.
Oh
Yeah.
no. So basically, WCC posted a video of their post, I think Perth, BCS, and they talked about Agnos, the DI counter. Nicky being Nicky became super obsessed with it. And he's like, "What's the DI counter? What's the DI counter?" Turns out the DI counter was just the dismal play where you
It wasn't even dismal,
yeah
actually.
no
It was.
the
Oh, okay.
DI counter was the having only one rearguard on the board and then dismaling before the if you swing rearguard first, you dismal the last rearguard, so you have to eat one of your own with Brufus if you
Yeah, but they were
allocate
also
Brufus.
faking another counter.
Yeah,
to
no,
it.
they were just
Because
doing it just to mess with you. Yeah,
I
no, that
know,
was it.
and I was just like I think a lot into things, and I'm just like,
What is it? And then
yeah, what could
we
this
had
be?
to read. I literally read every single Gold Paladin card from
We
from the beginning of the game to now, and I found nothing. And I'm like, Nicky, it's not here.
yeah,
It's
there was
not here.
absolutely nothing. Yeah, and that was pretty funny.
That was
Just
the
like-
most Worlds prep I did for myself. Like, I didn't do anything to help myself at Worlds. I YOLO'd a deck
Yeah.
because I was just helping Nicky.
That was a waste of 30 minutes though, reading
No,
every
that was
Gold
an
Paladin
hour.
card. Oh, maybe an hour.
We
Yeah,
talked about it for another 30 minutes. It was not good.
true,
It was
true.
not good.
Well, it sounds like you guys kind of have the same philosophy I think a lot of Vanguard players have. It's when the set drops or once you have the card information, we play test what we know will be available. But it's not like Magic. I can't play test my deck, months in advance. So
Oh yeah,
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
No
so that
way.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Same.
looking at the tops, you guys have a bunch. 19 between the four of you. What's the highlights? Give me some highlights. We'll start with Nicky.
What do you mean by highlight?
What's your favorite,
like
your favorite top?
What was your favorite?
What's your
Um,
favorite top and why?
I guess like the first place one, of course. I only have one first place, and it was Care Expo of 2019. Happened like about a year ago, a little less.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. It was with the deck that like we kind of created, me and John.
What deck?
It was deck regular.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
We were the
Yeah.
only ones really pushing it in NA.
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I think it's crazy how like good that deck is, and like not so many people were playing it, and I think that's just crazy to me. Yeah, that I think is my favorite top.
Okay. John, what's yours?
Mine is still my first because it's so weird. I topped Kara Expo in 2016. Nicky also topped that event. Screw you, Nicky. With
That's
this
the way
weird
we
deck.
met.
Yeah, that's the way we met and became good friends. Is because of that. It was with Zero Damage Glendios, which was a deck I stole from this dude in Japan. where he won a Japanese Nats with it. And at the time, the Western player base didn't really look towards Japan for like deck lists and all that stuff. So no one knew what my deck did. So I topped with a really, really bad deck that had no right to be there, but it was fun.
I actually thought you made that deck. Like you were the one
No,
that
no. I stole it from some dude on Twitter. He's a god. He followed me back actually, and I damn near cried.
Okay, we'll go next, Ben.
Mine's probably 2016 Team League, Cardiff. Primarily because I'd literally only been playing the game for like 6 months at that point. So, my Vanguard story actually starts kind of weird because I started way back in the day when the game first released in Japanese, and I quit a year in because a year in they decided to go, oh, we're going to release an English version of Vanguard now. And I was like, great, that means I can use my Japanese deck, right? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, bye-bye. So, I started and quit Vanguard within a year. And I only got back into it like towards like mid-G. So, this was like just before GPTO 5 came out.
Okay.
And I was playing like other card games like Magic, Weiss, all this shit. And a friend was like, hey, Ben, you're good at these other card games. Here's Vanguard. And I was like, sure, whatever. And he's like, yeah, man, there's like a team event going on in a year's time. You should play with me and my friends. I'm like, sure, whatever. So I spent like a month and a half practicing, and then another month and a half learning what the other stuff did. And then the next thing I know, I'm there in the finals playing against Mohammed, who's one of the best players in the UK, maybe even Europe. And next thing I know, there's a medal being put on my neck. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Maybe Vanguard's not so bad after all.
Right? When you top something, it changes your perspective on the game a little bit sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
What deck were you playing then?
2016 was, I think, Kagero. It was just after...
Was it Legendary?
It was after Legendary at that point, yeah. We had just gotten the G Guards.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember playing like 3 or 4 mirror matches.
The cringe naming conventions that we used then. Hand Trap Kagero.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah,
the worst thing as well is that like I was playing against like 3 or 4 mirror matches that day, and it really opened my eyes. Like it's one of the reasons that made me start doing YouTube and like start trying to teach people how to play the game. Because I would do stuff like Neo Flame a column and then swing into it, and they'd be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know you could do that." Or like I would ride to grade 3, do my stuff, and then I would purposefully attack really aggressively and get them to attack me back. That way they would give me counter blast, or go into the ace. And they're like, yeah, man, like you just had the ace and I just died. I'm like, yeah, you could have played around it.
Yeah.
This is stuff that so like, I was trying to teach people like if I've been playing for 6 months and I can see how to play this deck better than you, I think that says something at least.
Yeah.
That's fair. Let's see. Mark, you're next.
So it's gonna be BCS Chicago 2019. I was playing Easel, right? First round. This stuck with me forever. So we're waiting. I'm shuffling up. I'm waiting for the opening ceremony. Everybody around me, they're all standard players, right? But they're just joined just to get like the free gift, I think. And everybody was just talking about how much they hated Ezel and why like Ezel's the reason they don't want to play the game. And I was just laughing and agreeing with them as I'm shuffling my hand. I have grade 1 Bowmans, 2 Wonder Easels, Platinum. All right. And the guy in front of me, he told me that he does not want to play Easel all day. And I just inside, I'm just laughing to myself. He flips up. Alex calls to start. I flip up Criff, and the guy's face just went pale. I'm going first, by the way. I went first in 90% of my games. I destroyed the guy before he even got to grade 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was
That was pre-Kerf limit because we got the limit. Yeah. We got the limit list the day before the event, so I had to wake up to this Ange deck I had being murdered less than a week later. I was so sad. I was so sad.
Not as bad as that Maelstrom player I destroyed. Don't worry. He didn't shake my hand, by the way. Didn't shake my hand. He just walked away. Didn't sign the slip.
He thought he was gonna aggro you out.
It was amazing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's what I play Easel for.
That's what you play Ezel for? That's fair.
Yeah, the salt.
I think that's what everyone plays Ezel for.
Well,
Yeah,
as a Gold Paladin main myself, I get it. So I do. I understand. All right.
I actually had a similar story at my BCS in London this time last year. It was like round 5 or round 6. I'm also playing Ezel. I get paired up against Neo Nectar player. I go first, write a grade 1 pass. He goes, draw, rise a PG, so he can swing underneath. Stops for like a solid minute and a half, looking at his hand. He says the words, "I'll take the risk." Swings,
No, he crit you, didn't he?
reveals a crit,
No!
and he's like, "Am I dead?" And I tell him, "Yeah, you're pretty dead."
Yeah.
Full combo, Spear X, Sadness.
Oh no.
Never take the risk.
Take the risk is the words that you generally love hearing because you're like, I'm probably gonna
famous
win
last
this turn now,
Famous last words.
right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, piggybacking off of Ben's last thing, what's the I mean, he's international, so what are our advantages of playing with the international player base?
I think it's just seeing different perspectives. I don't know if it like means a lot if it's international or not, but I guess like Ben, like I guess he like
Ben's also
playtests.
fluent in multiple languages and plays.
Yeah,
has
so
a lot
he
more
can
than all
read
of us,
Japanese
so
to
it's just
them,
like,
so that's like it's way easier to test like cards aren't out yet because he can just read it for us.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so I think it's just better to have people with different like
skill sets.
local like skill sets, like people like they can like test against different people around them, while like if you play with just your friend from locals, you know, you're all playing against the same people and you're never getting like a different like practice session every time you play.
As
You know,
much
it's
as you
always the
love
same.
the locals group, right? It's not
Yeah.
ultimately always going to be the best practice because it's only going to be as good as the best player at your locals. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Although
So
I
it's
think
just
my experience with that is kind of the outlier because my locals does involve Hal, Kalen, and Mohammed.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
cheating. We
okay.
know. It's all
Yeah,
good.
mine's different, but that's
You're
that's the thing.
stacked.
So, yeah, because my local environment here in England, I'm testing with like Kalen, Hal, Mohammed, these other like really good Worlds players. Like, to me, like Hal and Kalen are basically honorary members of Strictly Broken, as far as I'm concerned. I'm still trying to push UA to like actually put them onto the team officially.
Cough.
Yeah, and like. I'm sharing the experiences like we discussed between Team Strictly Broken with Hal and Kalen, and then I'm sharing with Team Strictly Broken what Hal and Kalen think as well, and there's a lot more like crossover as a result of that, which is good. And one other big benefit I noticed is that like the NA meta is pretty well defined. Like people in NA like they generally know what's good and they know what to do, whereas with
Generally.
Europe it's like I don't know if it's to do with the people or what,
I
but
think
the
they
one
just get
tricks.
lost.
Maybe, yeah. But like the one tricks in Europe find way more success compared to the one tricks in NA. And because of that, like our meta is way less stable. Like, we had back in 2018, we had Genesis coming top 8. Like Regalia Genesis coming top 8 at our last Springfest because Mohammed is a Genesis and OTT like main and he refuses to play anything else.
I mean, there was that Hank Top in like 2 years ago where he played like that weird Walmart brand Fenrir Wiseman with Revelation that it was really just a Revelation deck.
I
And
give
he
him so
didn't
much shit
Wiseman
for
loop.
that.
Dude,
Don't
that was a real int. I don't know what Texas is doing, but they're doing a thing.
He took a page from my book because when I topped in 2017, all I kept telling him was that I won first stride. So he took that to the next level with what's that Genesis stride? Doom Brace. So he
Yeah.
just won every game with just Doom Brace first stride. I don't know how he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's a lot of. I think it's a big feedback loop, right? Like, Europe looks at what NA is doing and thinks, "Wow, that's stupid. Let's do something better." And then NA looks at what Europe is doing and thinks, like, "Wow, these guys are like, just they're not even trying."
They're the
yeah.
That's
It's
fair.
a lot of back and forth. Yeah.
That's fair. It's one of those. One of the other things I actually wanted to ask was, have you guys noticed different play styles from different regions?
no.
No.
I think that's one of the biggest falsehoods I've ever seen with this game is that people seem to have this. So like I've been following Japan for a while. I am literally one of the few who like started the aggressive categorizing and data collection of Japanese metagame. So we know what we're going to get by the time we get it here. And the whole play style difference thing is such a joke. If you compare each individual metagame with Japan and then transplant it over time, we got the set, it's the exact same. Outside of like premium right now because they don't play it. outside of that, like you could just literally transplant the BTO5 metagame as long as we have like the same cards, obviously, because they get
Yeah.
a whole lot of promos we don't. But just in general, it's always the same. They don't play more aggressive than us. We don't play more aggressive than them. It's the exact same.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Just
like a big
Vanguard.
misconception. Like
It's just
people don't have different play styles. It's more like, are you playing this deck correctly? And so
Yeah,
like if
there's no such
aggro
thing
deck,
as a play style, right? Like
yeah,
the
if
term
like
of play
something
style
like
Vanguard doesn't
Ezreal,
exist.
yeah, you're gonna play aggro with Ezreal, but like if you're playing that and you're playing that like correctly, pretty much, because you're supposed to play aggro. But if you're playing aggro with something like I
DI.
don't know, DI, yeah, then you're just not playing the deck to like its
Yeah, like why
potential,
are
I
you playing
guess,
aggro with a deck that can 0-6 you? Like
Yeah,
0
so
to
it's
6
just
every
yeah.
other deck in the game. So it's
So you're just like trying to just play the deck correctly, and I guess that
Yeah.
just comes to like if you're picking the right deck for yourself.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
whole
regional differences comes to more like the approach to the game, right? Like for example, the word meta in Japan
Mhm.
doesn't mean here's what people are playing. In Japan, the word meta means here's what you need to play. It's why it's why Shadow Paladin got to like 70% play rate during the Luard era, because instead of thinking how do I beat Luard, it was just I'm just gonna play Luard.
yeah. And you
Whereas in
had
the
to.
West, it's exactly because you couldn't beat Luard. Whereas in the West, it'd be more like, okay, here's this. How do I play this, knowing I'm going to face against like Night Rose, DI, whatever? Or here's how do I find a secret deck that can stand up to Night Rose and DI, even though if it ignoring the fact that it loses to random junk like Kagero or Narukami.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It makes sense. Vanguard itself doesn't seem like it's not like I would argue it's not like Magic where the play styles kind of vary a little bit from place to place. But yeah, no, that sounds about right. So based off of meta and playtesting and everything, what's the longest session you've had? What do you guys usually do to playtest, that kind of stuff?
So when I playtest with my group of friends, we kind of just sit down at like a table and we just sit and play. Usually we're not like playing to win because you don't really practice to win. You practice to like learn from your mistakes. So we just play and we try to like help each other. If I see you playing and you're not playing like optimally, I'm gonna just tell you like, oh, you should have done this, and then we'll like rewind the whole game state and we'll like play again. Like we'll basically like just try it again.
Yeah, how
And
can you do this better?
Yeah, and we're like I just like keep doing it optimally, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, what if I did this line of play, and we'll completely like rewind the game state like a whole turn, and like we'll try to like go from there, and we won't like try to just play to win, we just play to learn, and
Okay. John, same thing.
I admittedly haven't done a lot of playtesting in the last like 2 years. I mainly do theory crafting and like helping other people figure out what to play. Like the whole thing was me yelling at Nicky to literally play DI.
Yeah.
And until he finally did. And then like a good example of this was at Chicago where I got my 3rd place and qualified for Worlds. I literally picked the deck the day of. I played 0 games and was just learning it throughout the day. Like this some dude, like round 3, we were playing the Novamir. He does kick on turn 2. I'm like, wait a second, I forgot you could do that. So then I started kick turn 2ing people and kept slapping Melody around. Like, sometimes you just kind of send it. There was not a lot of playtest in my. I just mainly helped others figure out what they wanted to play. So
that's fair. Ben.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Like John and I are, like I would say, John and I are like the kings of theorycraft. Like we can spend an hour like thinking about something and talking about something, and then it could be like it could even like in my case, it's been days before I've actually sat down to play something I've talked about. And by the time I sit down with like proxies or like tabletop simulator or like real cards or whatever, the thing that I'm actually testing is like miles away from the thing that I was thinking about and talking about earlier. Like Hal and I were testing like some DI decks just before Worlds because he also was thinking about DI, and like we started off saying, okay, yeah, Nicky was playing Hope on Damp at this event, and like here's this, there's that, this guy's Maxime still wants to play old Yellow Bolt, we want to play new Yellow Bolt, And we would like discuss stuff like hours on end. I would run ideas off of John, like saying like, "Is Hope on Damp even still a play?" And John would be like, "No, play Number of Terror, you idiot." And I would go back to Hal and be like, "Okay, John says play Number of Terror. Let's drop Hope on Damp and play Number of Terror." And it'd get to like the Sunday that we meet up every day to test and like play around and hang out with. And by that Sunday, the deck ends up with somehow having Hope on Damp and Number of Terror, and then no Yellow Bolts. And it's like, we were talking about Yellow Bolts. How did we get here? And
Yeah,
then,
that was wrong.
Yeah. It's just that process of like the other guys say, we sit there going, rather than just playing the game properly, we say like, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? If you just don't swing and pass, I deck out before you do, stuff like that. Like these really like discussions that sometimes go nowhere. But the important thing is that when you're thinking about the game, you need to think about like stuff that's actually relevant, right? Like it's not like thinking, oh, if I guard one to pass here, what's the chance of him breaking through? Like that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You got to think like, if I call this right now, do I need it later? If he attacks it, do I get damage denied? If I don't call this now, does he rush face because he knows that I can't aggro him? It's like this, like you gotta like think to your strategy, as it were. Like not just, oh, what if I do this? What if I do that?
It's like a huge thing is definitely surrounding yourself with people who you can trust with like discussing things. Like I wouldn't have ever gotten like that far with pushing DI with Nicky if we didn't trust each other and just not incessantly yell at each other to play the right things. It's just one of those things where it's just you got to trust the dudes who you talk to. Like when standard stuff is spoiled, I talk with a bunch of group of friends about it. We're like, oh, this is probably good. And that was the whole Luard thing where we're like quickly realizing Luard is busted as hell. And, it turned out to be really way more broken than we all thought.
Way more busted.
Yeah. that card is... That was bad in our discussions. We're like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's only 70% of tops, only 70%.
Only pretty good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think it also really helps that we're all like pretty good players to begin with. So like our initial thoughts, when we look at a card that gets revealed or we look at a new deck that gets posted, we're like, okay, I can like we immediately see like this is how it wins, this is what it wants to do, like this is what it could be weak against, this is what it could be good against. And so our starting point is already pretty strong to begin with. So by iterating on something that's already good, we just get a lot further than someone who's, to say, not as good. Like, their starting point is going to be lower. The rate at which they make progress is going to be slower. And so, the fact that we can just constantly talk and be like, okay, I think this is good, I think this is bad. It just, the cycle of iteration and testing for us just goes way faster.
I think the only deck I've been wrong recently about in my initial analysis was Gavril, because I didn't really bother reading the rest of the cards. I'm like, Gavril's boring and bad. Turns out everything else is pretty damn good. So you just one-shot someone from 1 to 6 with a
it's
6K.
boring. It's boring as all hell, but it's good.
It's just Dota. It's just another cracked out Dota X go first win game deck, and I didn't think it was because I didn't know 8 drive checks or whatever it is. So,
how about you, Mark?
I totally forgot the question. I'm gonna be
honest.
honest.
What do you play test?
Playtesting.
What do you do?
Yeah, what do you do for
a week
playtesting?
before event? What do you do?
Okay, so I think I spend more time going on Twitter and I look at every deck list and be more informed on what everybody's doing instead, so I can be more prepared like that. Then I will spend an hour probably playing whatever deck I think I'm gonna play. Ezo I didn't play at all, but I was well aware of guest deal and everything going into it. So even though I didn't know how to play Ezo, I knew how to play against every other deck. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, when I'm testing, actually, there's a lot of takesy backsies.
Takesy backsies, yeah.
That's the way you should do it, though. Yeah, so everybody
take
can
back
learn.
phase is a strong friend in that.
And a lot of people don't like that, and whoever doesn't like that, you should not be testing with them.
True.
You gotta win all the casual games too, man.
Yeah, it's competitive. Yeah. It's competitive practice environment. No takebacks.
Yeah.
Well, you're playtesting. It's like if you're practicing a basketball game, you're gonna your coach will stop the game in the middle and be like, let's rewind this a little bit and retry that play, because you don't. That's not how you learn. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I totally get what you're saying. We'll pop on to the next question. If everyone else anyone else have anything else to add on that?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's go.
Good.
Good. Okay. So next
Yeah.
question. So with people who are non-competitive, casual players, what advice would you give to them who would like to start being competitive players? Basically.
Do what Nicky said. Do take backs in the middle of a casual game so you can learn. What I like to do is like right after a game, I'll take like a few minutes and like kind of reflect on the game. Think about like the certain areas where I think like the deciding play is to reflect on it. What's the other line of plays? What could I have done better? I think a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's a lot of it is mentality. Like it's really hard to admit that you're bad. You know, it's painful, but once you can admit that you're bad, and you start looking at everything you do in like a negative, like critical light, you know, even if you're wrong, like even if you are actually good at it, if you just say like, "Oh man, I'm doing this really bad," just even the like the process of thinking, okay, if this is bad, how can I do a bit better? Like what else? What other things can I do? Like that process alone is already like a huge first step. Like for
I think
example,
what
being
Ben's saying is don't settle.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Like you know, you like even if you've already like reached, if you're damage denying DI as you should be, if you're damage denying Ezel as you should be, you then need to think like, okay, what if I don't damage deny them? If I don't damage deny them, this happens. If this happens, you go from there, like build your own logic tree, and then talk to people about it. Like say like, okay, I think that if you damage deny Ezel, they then just get to farm one Ezels and draw Axels, and then eventually ultimate you out of the game. Am I right or wrong? And they'll either be like, yeah, you're correct, or no, you're wrong. And then you can think, okay, if I'm correct, then how do I deal with that? And if I'm wrong, okay, let's go back. How do what happens if I do this? It's like just always be thinking about the game and like always be thinking about stuff that's new to you, or stuff that you might not necessarily know. Because if you already know it, then what's the point in thinking about it? Like if you don't know about it, then either that identifies a gap in your knowledge, which can be fixed, or you've built new knowledge, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like if you reflect on a game, like Mark said, and you're thinking, oh, you lost because your opponent double crit you, or you lost because you didn't heal, or something like that, I feel like you're just looking at the game wrong. Like yeah, there are some times where you just lose because your opponent triggered way more than you did. But I feel like most of the time, when you do lose, it's because of like a poor decision you made,
Mm-hmm.
or something you could have done better. And I feel like that's a pretty big thing with like a lot of competitive players. You gotta, I guess, be a little harsh on yourself. Be like, oh, I could have done this way better. Like I misplayed,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Don't blame your losses on triggers.
Yeah.
100%.
I was
Yeah.
about to say
Yeah,
that's
now,
probably the
like
biggest
even if it
crux.
is, yeah, even if it is true, you did lose to a trigger. Like I feel like it's not something you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about how you could have played better.
It just minimizes like other things you could have done better. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like like sure. So sometimes you get double crit from 3 to 6, and it's whatever. But if you're on 4 and you get crit, then you think to yourself like, oh, why was I on 4? Like, why didn't I guard a bit earlier from knowing who's playing crits? Or
Mm-hmm.
if I'm at 4 and there's a risk, like maybe I should be guarding a bit more aggressively, or maybe I should be attacking him more aggressively so that he doesn't have the chance to put me on 4 in the first place. Things like that. It's like there's like high level like esoteric stuff that doesn't naturally come to mind. Like for example, ride no attack past going second because you don't want them to orange try you. And then there's like much more lower level stuff like, okay, I know that this deck is good. If he's playing an 8 crit deck, I should guard more aggressively at the beginning because his power numbers are going to scale to unguardable points. Like for example, against Angel Feather, you always got like, even if your deck needs counterblast in turns 2 and 3, you should stay at 0 damage against Angel Feather until they ride up to grade 3. Because if you're at 2 or 3 damage against Angel Feather, there's a hot, the chance of you getting OTK skyrockets. It's just like knowing stuff like that. It's like, okay, I know that this is going to happen, so I'm taking actions now.
And
That's
most
fair.
of this stuff you learn off of just playing. And I guess the one thing I could tell a new player or someone trying to like get better at the game is just play. Just play as many games as possible, play against as many different players as possible, and as many different decks as possible. Just play as much as possible. That's it.
So have an open mind. Play the game as much as possible with more of an open mind and kind of like
just keep practicing.
practice.
That's how you get good at anything and anything in life. Not just Vanguard. Just you just keep practicing, you'll get better.
Okay.
Yeah, there's obviously stuff that comes with time and experience, like that's unavoidable.
Mhm.
But you can definitely minimize the time and experience needed, just by really applying yourself properly. Like for example, nowadays it's quite well known that Gavril is a 16 crit deck. But for someone who's still fresh to the game, they probably don't know that. And the only way sure, I could just tell them, hey, Gavril's a 16 crit deck, guard early, and that's it. But it's the same, you could just as well, play 3 or 4 games against a good Gavril player, and just by thinking about, okay, this is happening, I'm dying to crits very often, you'll eventually build that connection yourself as well, if you don't have that available to you.
That makes sense. So, with that in mind, it's just more of a mentality thing, I guess, is what you're saying. How you approach the game is just shifts mentally.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
just more about improving yourself and realizing that Vanguard isn't that hard. You just have to, stop just playing brain dead.
Stop turning cards sideways.
Yeah.
Think about it a second.
Yeah. Think about why you're doing something.
Yeah.
Think about why you turn the card at a 90-degree angle instead of actually just doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Should I? Yeah, maybe I should just leave it right there.
Yeah,
Damn,
that's
running
fair.
is- yeah.
Okay. So that's all the questions, but I want to open it up. Does anyone have any cool stories that they have about the team? Does anyone have any remarks that they'd like to make? Obviously, being chill about it.
Yeah.
No? No one has anything they want to add?
No.
Well, I'm just put on the spot, so I didn't think about it.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Give us a little bit of think about that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. You're fine.
Oh, one thing I do want to mention is a thing that of someone who hasn't played Vanguard going straight to topping was actually our team owner Yue. Dude had played no Vanguard in his life, and then he tops 2 or 3 events. I think it was 2.
Yeah.
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 Just because he's good at card games, fundamentals are everything. So just learn your fundamentals, track hands, stuff like that.
Yeah, once you have I think the fundamentals of just learning how to play, I don't know, just playing a card game, it'll apply to everything else, even life, just doing things better. I guess I don't know. Just looking at things
like an
different.
existential conversation now.
Yeah, we're getting deep about it now.
But yeah, UA he doesn't play Vanguard now. He's a Weiss player. He plays
He was a
Weiss
Weiss
pretty
player,
much. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
he won Worlds once. Or
Yeah.
He won once and he came 3rd once.
Okay, yeah. So and he's topped way more, and he literally played Vanguard a couple times and he topped immediately.
Yeah, and not like the deck he topped with the fucking Pale Moon of all decks. That's
the Pale Moon Loop with the
yeah,
Sunstar.
that's a
That was
hard
his
deck.
pet deck. That was his pet deck for sure.
Yeah,
But it's a hard deck to learn, right? You don't just pick that deck up and win like you do with Ezel.
Yeah,
true.
You have to be a good player to play that deck.
I remember him playing against Maxime for an hour at Quinlan's shop. I don't remember what it's called, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were money matching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
yeah,
He does that a lot. Yeah.
All right.
Funny thing about sorry.
I was gonna say continue.
Oh, okay.
You're
I
good.
told Maxime for the BCS 19 to play DI. That guy 3 events in a row does not play DI. It's crazy.
He's always the play, man. I'm telling you. I was so happy when I came in and all 3 of you had the same mindset of me. Guess still best deck. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Although let's talk about UA actually. Since this came up, I think one thing that really picked the reason I was drawn to Strictly Broken to begin with was because I knew UA from playing Weiss because I'm also a Weiss player primarily. I've been talking to him for ages before I even started playing Vanguard, so we kind of knew each other. And then I was talking to UA one day, and this was a week after I had won London, and he's like, "Yeah, by the way, man, do you want to join the team?" I'm like, "Are you joking?" And he's like, "No, man. I know you're a good player from Weiss, and you finally have a Vanguard top under your belt. Yeah, just fucking." I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I know it's the dude is a living disaster, right? There's no sugarcoating.
What do you mean? You telling me the dude who's decked out My Little Pony stuff everywhere? No.
But at the same time, like, he's a smart guy. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he does like whenever we tell him something, like either about the team or about card games or about Vanguard or anything else, like even with the Weiss team, he listens. He says like, okay, yeah, like I remember there was a time, like I think just after VBT09 had just come out in Japan. Like, he was like, he messaged me going like, yo, Ben, are you free for like an hour? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? He goes, yeah, can you like jump in the Discord? And there were like 4 of us in the Discord call, and he's like, yeah, man, explain to me why like crits are good in Harry over like fronts. And we're like, yeah, man, because like this is this. I think fronts are better because of this, Like, we had like this discussion for like an hour, and he was like, okay, I see.
Oh,
And then,
right. I was there for that.
oh yeah, you were, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
next thing I know, like a month and a half later, the dude went out and just fucking bought 8 RLR Harrys, and he's like, yeah, man, it's all good. And we're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
he has 8.
Oh.
Mhm.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's cracked out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
That's
a
fair.
big flexer. That's the only way I'll put it. I have like $1 million in Yu-Gi-Oh on my desk for him.
But he cares. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
like,
he cares.
for all of his jokes and like the what you see online, like he's a
great
good dude
dude.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Good
really
team
funny
owner.
for me to hear that because like the very first thing he told me round 1 at Worlds was that he was wasted until like 2 hours before the event. So just hearing all you guys say good things about, I was like,
He's an interesting guy. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of that Japan trip,
yeah.
logical reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude literally chose to miss his flight so that he could max out Sword Art Online day 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Weiss for the 10th anniversary deck.
Yeah.
He showed me all
Whoa.
the cards. They're so pretty. Oh my god.
He didn't even fax it all the way.
Yeah. You might as well commit at that point.
No, he did the last or EP, I think, the
Mm.
early play. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Does anyone else have anything else they want to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious
good.
about something. John and Nikki, how'd you guys join the team?
Well, Nicky joined Strictly and ditched me
Mhm.
for a while, but we still talked all the time. And then I left
Yeah.
Vision because I won't
Yeah.
say. And then Nicky's like, yeah, just finally join. The whole reason I wasn't initially allowed on Strictly Broken, fun fact, was someone who used to be on the team thought I was toxic, which he was right.
But they're not wrong, yeah.
However, I am not toxic. Most
Yeah, I try to get John on the team like initially, but like UA wanted like a small group of people, and I guess he only wants like a certain amount of people on the team. He
Mhm.
doesn't want to go over that like limit, and so like the first moment I could add John, I like added him immediately.
Yeah, we go
Or try to,
even when we weren't on the same team, we were just teaming every event. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
carrying me.
That's fair.
Legit carry.
I think the only other comments I have is, if you like look at us, you could like say Triple Sleeve, look at say WCC, any other like team. I think the important thing to note is that it's not as serious as I think people think it is. Like, like our group chat is mostly just filled with is this guy like literally screenshots of posts and tweets and like is this guy stupid? Is this guy like smart? Like, that's all we talk about, right?
Mhm.
Like the actual amount of like real Vanguard, like the last time we talked about a real Vanguard deck in our group chat was back when
Heaven's
Phenom
the word.
was still like
Oh,
yeah, that Bermuda loop deck that
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's a great deck, dude.
Phenoloop is sick.
Yeah, I think it was great. But like, that's the most serious I've ever seen us been. I think that's something that. Like,
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
I think it's also a symptom of what's going on right now. I think it's pretty hard to take this game super seriously because of the current world events.
Yeah.
mm,
Mhm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's been a hard year for everybody. I mean, we can't play anywhere. I mean,
Yeah, no events, no worlds.
yeah.
I know.
It's Japan, man. Oh,
Dude, just traveling. Traveling is the best like thing.
That's
because
what I
it's
miss
not-
the most.
Like honestly, like tournaments, yeah, they're great. But the best thing to come out of an event is just meeting people.
yeah, 100%.
And like just traveling. Every event I go to, I always make like new friends, and it's great.
I think that's actually probably the biggest benefit to having joined Strictly Broken, which is that I can just talk shit with Nicky and John whenever I feel like.
Yeah.
Fact, Ben and I hated each other's guts.
Oh, yeah.
before he
Really?
joined Strictly. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were at each other's throats.
Yep.
because we never talked. It was mainly interaction through Discord, and it was never good. But it's cold out.
Yeah.
Probably talked the most out of any of us here.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for doing this. We appreciate it. Thanks everybody who tuned in for this panel for Cardfight Con. Enjoy the rest of the con.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us
very
on
much.
Cardfight Con.
Yep.
Of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. It was fun.
All right.